What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of
Full
Metal Bracket. Here from the top 10, hanging out here, having some fun, getting to jump into a new bracket here, Matt Nost and I, and so this is a really fun show that we do every week. We either answer questions or we do a bracket now. That's been the new thing that happened in 2022. And I guess this is coming out in 2023. So would this be our second Happy New Year or our first Happy New Year?
This will be our second Happy New Year of the year. So we hope you had a fun and a crime-free New Year's. You know what I mean? You didn't get in trouble with the law. You didn't get arrested or anything. I never got arrested on New Year's, so thankfully.
Yeah, good.
I've been arrested several times.
Oh, have you really? Oh, okay.
Never got arrested. You never had the cuffs on?
Never, not once. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah, I've had the cuffs on several times.
I mean, that's one of the first things they teach you as a Latino, man. At least for me and my family. Boy, people get real mad when you think you speak for all Latinos, but like my dad made it very clear to me, son, don't ever put yourself in a position where they can put the cuffs on you, man. So I've done my best to stay out of prison.
Mine was all just, underage drinking stuff like that.
Right. I understand. I have a friend who spent a night in jail in Georgia for that situation. And that was the tales he told. I'm like, yeah, even more so adamant to not ever be in a position like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry about my lighting. All of a sudden, it's like I'm real bright. I'm real fucking bright. So let me try to turn some shit down. There we go. All right. Anyway, we're going to do our thing here. Get into a bracket. I think we've chosen James Peddie's bracket. Is that right, Matt?
That is correct. And we're doing, James has sent us in a Star Wars TV and movies.
Yeah.
And he says, my idea for a bracket, parenthetically, if it has not already been submitted, was inspired by your conversations about recent Star Wars TV shows and how they compare to other projects in the franchise. Ooh. There are 23 films and TV shows, live action and animation, with a preliminary round for the lower seeds. I decided to seed them using IMDB scores, as Rotten Tomatoes scores tend to skew in favor of TV over movies. I didn't include 80s cartoons or TV shows, and the recent Tales of the Jedi series has too few votes to include.
Okay.
I don't think there is anything too obscure here. Let the battle commence. James.
Nice.
All right, so I'll print all these off.
Okay. All right. In my mind already, I'm like, well, I kind of have a feeling where I'm going to go, but I think it's going to be fun to see what happens in the lower rounds. So, especially when we're dealing with the prequel trilogy. So, I'm not one of those revisionists who is like, oh my God, you know what? It's actually great. There are some scenes that I enjoyed. I've always enjoyed, but overall, I have issues with how the whole thing fits together. So it'll be interesting. But I like that you included the movies and the TV shows, the animated stuff, and I like that you explained to us how you seeded this. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so the way he's got the bracket, 1 through 9 have already made it to the second round.
Wow.
So we have other things. Yeah, other things fighting to make their way into the discussion.
Wow. So do you want to read off who's in the
sure,
how do we do this? Because this is the first time we've ever done it this way. So yeah.
Well, I'll do the top part of the bracket. You do the bottom, and then I'll explain the top part, and you can explain the bottom part. So making it to round 2, we have 3 matchups to determine who makes it in to play number 1 seed Empire Strikes Back.
We have playing games. Playing games.
Yeah, we have playing games.
Yeah, fascinating.
And then to play Empire Strikes Back, we have at 17 Solo versus 16 The Last Jedi.
Wow.
So there's our first play-in game of Solo versus The Last Jedi. And what say you, sir?
Oh, wow. We're already jumping into it. Okay. God, this is tough. Because The Last Jedi, the first 40 minutes are just like useless to me. And then it becomes one of the most fantastic Star Wars films I've ever seen. Whereas Solo overall is a good film, and there are some damn good scenes, but it's kind of meh by the time you get to the end of it. I'm not as inspired or thrilled by Solo. So I'm going to go Last Jedi because I think I like Rian Johnson's swings that he took in the movie. So over the weird botch job that was moving from Lord Miller to Ron Howard. So I'll say Last Jedi.
Yeah, I'm not a fan really of either film.
Okay.
But if you have to force me to watch one, I would choose Solo.
Interesting. Okay. That sounds good. All right.
Last Jedi, I think, is infuriating numerous times over. Numerous times over. You're not even the first 45. I have bigger problems with stuff that happens later in the film.
Okay. All right. Fair
All a
point.
Canto Bite, you can cut. Benicio del Toro, that is the most convenient character I've ever seen in cinema of all time.
I don't disagree with you. That Canto Bite scene is useless. Useless.
Yeah, but then to go into Benicio and be one thing if he was a plant, a spy from the Empire, but he's not. It's just like, by happenstance. And that then it just keeps going. I've got more after that and more before that. So the first 45 doesn't even begin.
Fair enough.
So you're taking Last Jedi. I am taking Solo. We'll go to the next play-in. So we're going to skip the other matchup in the second round of the top part of the top bracket because they're already in the second round. So now at the 5 seed, we have Return of the Jedi, but the winner, we have a play-in bracket.
Yeah.
21 versus 12. Clone Wars movie from 2008 versus the number 12 seed, Revenge of the Sith.
Wow. I mean, for me, most of Revenge of the Sith is not rewatchable until you get to Mustafar. And then it's pretty fucking badass.
True.
So, whereas the Clone Wars movie, I think, is good, but I don't think anything in the Clone Wars movie blows me away the way that fight does. And the fight goes on forever. So,
yes.
I'm going to have to give it to Revenge of the Sith over the Clone Wars movie, even though I do enjoy the Clone Wars movie very much.
I am in agreement. I think the Clone Wars movie is a lot of fun.
Yes.
And it sets up the TV series, and the TV series has got some really good episodes in it. But the fight scene on Mustafar is so incredible.
Yeah.
It blows anything away that the Clone Wars movie did for me.
Right.
So I am in agreement. Revenge of the Sith moves on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in our last play-in game of the opening round,
my God,
at 13 versus 20, it's the Book of Boba Fett versus The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh my God.
Rise of Skywalker is 20 according to IMDb. That's kind of crazy. I figured that'd be higher.
It's a crap film.
And they're taking on the Clone Wars, the entirety of the series, all 12 years. That seems unfair.
Yeah, it's very unfair. But then again, isn't that how it goes in these seeding situations?
Sure.
Fuck.
So the Book of Boba Fett at 13 versus The Rise of Skywalker at 20.
You know what? I'm going to put Book of Boba Fett in here because we at least got those Mandalorian episodes to kind of redeem Book of Boba Fett. And look, the first episode or two is good with Book of Boba Fett. Then you get that weird fucking Skittles biker gang, and it just absolutely crashes and burns, and stuff is presented that they never pay off. So, like the 2 fucking Jabbas, we just never pay that off. So, but Rise of Skywalker, you talk about infuriating from beginning to end, an utter insult to the franchise, in my opinion. I know there are people who defend it and like that movie, but I've only ever seen it once, and I gave away tickets to multiple screenings that were mine that Collider had set aside for me during that last December that it was out. And I remember I just gave them away. I was like, no, take them, give them to somebody else. I don't want them, because I don't know if I'll ever see that movie again. So Book of Boba Fett, definitely.
I mean, this is a Sophie's choice of things I don't like. But I think I'm going to agree with you and go Book of Boba Fett. It at least had moments that I enjoyed, whereas Rise of Skywalker I just found infuriating.
Yeah. There's nothing in Rise of Skywalker that matches the Mandalorian episode in the Book of Boba Fett. Nothing. So that gives it the edge for me.
Yeah, that's... Boba, you're lucky that you took on Skywalker in the first round.
It's true. At least you get one victory before annihilation.
All right, so now we have the second half of the top bracket. It is number 1, Empire Strikes Back versus Last Jedi for you versus Solo for me.
Yeah, oh, definitely Empire. Yeah, it's not even a question.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now we have 9 versus 8, Rogue One versus The Force Awakens.
Oh, this is tough because I think those are my two favorite movies of the new era of movies. So, but as much as I do love the sweetness of Force Awakens and it feels like A New Hope, Rogue One is just my language. So I have to give it to Rogue One. And I'm super pissed off that that's not a semifinal and that's going to be a fucking quarterfinal. That's ridiculous to me, but whatever.
Yeah, this is like a college champion taking on a fucking pro league champion, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah.
I enjoyed your Force Awakens. You're really good, but you just got dunked on so hard by Rogue One that Rogue One makes it on for me.
Yeah.
All right, now we have at 5, Return of the Jedi versus both of us have Revenge of the Sith, number 12 seed.
I'm never going to give a prequel film the nod over an original trilogy film, no matter what the matchup is. So Return of the Jedi without question for me.
Yeah, I'm taking Return of the Jedi as well. Much as I enjoy Revenge of the Sith, once again, that fight on Mustafar is second to none in all of Star Wars.
Agreed.
But Return of the Jedi is, I don't know, nostalgia all wrapped into one. Now we have the Book of Boba Fett, the 13 seed, taking on the Clone Wars on the 4 seed.
Yeah, it's not even a question. It's an annihilation here, Clone Wars. Oh, it's such a good series. So, yeah. Even that final season was just incredible. So.
Yeah, there's so many really interesting characters and just because they can tell so many more stories.
Yeah.
Like it ebbs and flows. There's some mediocre episodes in there. That's kind of inevitable when you're churning out that many episodes, but there's some stellar ones in there that you kind of wish they had explored in the movies.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, now what could be the toughest matchup in the entire bracket for me personally? It's the number 1 seed of Empire Strikes Back versus the number 9 seed of Rogue One. This is genuinely tough for me.
It's one of the most difficult choices. But in the end, I have to default to Empire Strikes Back. I just have to. Even though I love Rogue One, and I love Rogue One. Empire Strikes Back, the legacy, the history, it's always been the best film in Star Wars, universally. So I have to go Empire, even though I love Rogue One. I'm mad that this is a matchup in the quarters, as I said. So
yeah, this is Argentina versus France. It comes down to penalty kicks in the end. Yeah. It's a wildly entertaining game. You have stars on both sides.
Yeah.
And man, it depends on the day because there's certain days would be like I would prefer to watch Rogue One.
Yeah.
I find it a more fulfilling movie.
Right.
And then other days and be like, yeah, there's Empire kicking ass over here. Empire has long been my number 1. So I don't think Rogue One has unseated it, but boy, is it fucking close.
It is close.
That is a finals matchup if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have the number 5 seed of Return of the Jedi versus the number 4 seed of the Clone Wars.
I think I have to go Clone Wars because the Ewoks drive me insane. So I'll never default to that. Yeah. So to me, that's where I go. I'll never default to anything with the Ewoks over anything that's Clone Wars related. So I'd have to say that, because I mean it was supposed to be Wookiees, and the fact that we got Ewoks is beyond frustrating. And I know some of you love them. I know Sam Witwer has defended the Ewoks, but I think this is Ellis's favorite Star Wars movie, but it's just it just not, it doesn't compare to the greatness of Clone Wars, the entire series. So
yeah, it's somewhat an unfair matchup. I agree with you. I just watched Return of the Jedi again like a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's still a shitload of fun. But I mean the Ewoks. You know what? I was like girding myself to be like, fuck, here they come. And it didn't bother me as much as it has in years past. Because I think I just finally like, who cares?
Yeah.
And I can understand why maybe it's their favorite, because the nostalgia of, Ellis and I are roughly the same age. This was the first one I remember seeing in the theater.
Oh yeah, great point. Yeah.
So
yeah.
There's all of that wrapped up into it. But I agree with you. Clone Wars makes it past it just because there's so much more to choose from in that. So finally, we have the number 1 overall seed, Empire Strikes Back, versus the number 4 seed of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's got to be Empire.
Yeah.
As much as I love Clone Wars, and we just sang its praises literally a second ago. But Empire Strikes Back it's like it's Wrath of Khan for Star Trek. It's just this untouchable thing that is the best thing they've ever produced, and is the bar that everyone has to hit if they're trying to match it. So I put Empire easily over Clone Wars.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a discussion for me personally. So I would take Empire, and Empire is gonna to make it on. So that ends the top half of the bracket.
Yeah,
Empire is your number 1 overall seed. And before we jump into the second half, why don't we take a quick break and hear this word from our sponsor? All right, there we have it. Now, John, take us away.
Yeah, let's jump into this thing. Second half of the bracket here. As we just laid out here, there's playing games and teams that or things that have already gone on to the second round. So going on to the second round, starting at number 3, Star Wars: A New Hope, and the play-in matchup is number 19, The Phantom Menace, versus number 14, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. So, Matt, your thoughts on this one?
It's a tough matchup. It's actually kind of an even pairing for a 14 versus 19.
Yeah.
But I think, as frustrating as I find it, I would take the Phantom Menace.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
As disappointing as Kenobi was, and at times, I still enjoyed seeing him back in it, and I enjoyed seeing Hayden come back as well. And I like the young girl as Leia. So for me, there's enough here, because Phantom, I tried rewatching Phantom last year, I think, and it is a rough. I mean, the first 30 to 45 minutes for me are just head banging into the wall, terrible. Because I mean, Jar Jar is a useless character for me. I know people can explain it, and certainly I don't want to add to any of the thing that Ahmad Best went to, because it's not his fault.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Character is an utterly useless character.
Yeah.
And so it's just irritating that he's throughout the whole fucking movie. And I can't. It kills everything. So as great as the fight is with Darth Maul and Ewan and Liam Neeson, Qui-Gon Jinn, I enjoy that battle fight between Kenobi and Vader in the series. So for me, I take Obi-Wan Kenobi. I have a better feeling about that than I do Phantom Menace. So
that's fair.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Clone Wars at number 11, the micro series that ran from 2003 to 2005 at number 11, taking on number 22's Star Wars Forces of Destiny shorts 2017 to 2018. And they are going to, the winner faces at number 6, Andor. So a tough matchup to get into a pit with a gritty, battle-tested series that is ready to rip your throat out. So what do you got, Matt? Clone Wars micro series or the Star Wars Forces of Destiny shorts?
The Clone Wars micro series. I'm assuming that's the Genndy Tartakovsky stuff.
Yeah, the Tartakovsky. So yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Right,
It's
I love it.
utterly phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they had gone with that for. I can understand why you go with the CGI and whatnot, but I like his style quite a bit. Yeah, I watched that because I had watched Samurai Jack.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, to me, it's the Clone Wars series, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I agree with that. I take the Clone Wars series as well, bro. They released them on Disney Plus a few months
Oh, they
ago.
have? Oh,
Yeah.
I'd totally be happy to watch all those again.
Oh yeah, dude. I sat there one night just watched them all, and
Dude.
and Laura and I reviewed it on the Jedi Way on my channel because she had not. I don't think she'd seen some of them, so we just kind of watched them and then talked about them. Dude, they are so much fun to revisit.
Trying to track them down when they came out online.
Oh, yeah.
It was so hard, but it was worthwhile every time. It was,
Yeah.
this is a crazy interesting. I love this story, and this is an amazing character. I wish they had used this in the series. Maybe they will going forward. Like there was that one guy that's on like a space Harley. He's got the jousting stick thing, and I was like, this is awesome. This is such a stupid hybrid of so many different genres. I love it. And there's the Mace Windu stuff where he takes on an entire droid army by himself.
Yeah.
And you completely buy it. The introduction of Grievous, he's up in the shadows and shit. Yeah. And he's like killing Jedis, and you just see those eyes light up. It's a fantastic.
I agree, dude. All right. So that makes it on to take on Andor, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Moving down to the bottom half of the bracket here. At number 7 is Star Wars Rebels, which has already advanced to the second round. The play-in game here is at number 23, Star Wars Resistance, one of the most recent animated series here that ran from 2018 to 2020 against season 1 of The Bad Batch, which wrapped up earlier this year, and the second season is coming out in just a few days. So, or I might have already come out by the time we drop this short, actually, this show, actually. So, all right, Matt, Star Wars Resistance versus the first season of Bad Batch.
I don't think I can make a qualified opinion on this because Bad Batch I've only seen 2 episodes of.
Okay.
And Resistance, I haven't seen the full runs, although being fair, I don't think I've seen the full runs of Clone Wars series, but I've seen a shitload of them. So
right on.
I felt confident there. But in this one, I've seen more of Resistance, so I guess I would choose Resistance.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go Bad Batch because I love the Bad Batch. Clone Force 99, that's my jam. So I'll enjoy that. And I think Resistance is good. It's actually a lot better than people think. It's not just for kids or anything like that. There's some fun stuff going on here with the characters, and the voiceover work I think is really well done there. But for me, Bad Batch, I just really enjoy it, and I like the series, and we'll see what happens with season 2. So I'll take Bad Batch over that. All right, so let's move on to our last matchup here. The Mandalorian is at number 2 and has already advanced to the second round. So the play-in game here is number 15, Star Wars Vision, which came out earlier last year, taking on number 15, taking on number 18, Attack of the Clones. Matt Nost.
I am going to go with Attack of the Clones. I think
wow.
Some of the moments that it has, I think, are pretty spectacular.
Certainly the fight in the pit, the battle in the pit is
so
awesome.
That, then into the troops getting deployed in the midst of that big sandstorm coming in, and the visual of that, I think, is gorgeous. And then into the fight with Dooku. It's like it's a nice boom, boom sequence, plus the closing shot of watching all the troopers getting loaded onto the transport ships with Yoda looking over and just kind of like, what have we wrought? Like, yes, we're agreeing to this, but I don't even understand what we've agreed to.
Yeah, good point.
So yeah, it's got its flaws for me, but I still think it's got some interesting moments.
Yeah. I'm going to take Visions because I really liked Visions. I had a really fun time with it. Enjoyed the Asian influence of it. Enjoyed the anime stuff that you got to see. I liked the characters. I don't think any of the stories, except for the one with the band, the kid in the band, bored me. Everything else was great. And I enjoyed it. And I had really fun seeing Star Wars expand, like breathe a little bit and expand out to other areas and try to create some new stories and new characters, new mythology within that. I just really liked it, and the visuals and all of it. So that's why I can't wait for the second season, which is coming out in the next few months, to see what new approaches these people have towards the Star Wars stuff. So yeah, I take it. I'm not a prequel fan, even though I enjoy some of the scenes in it. I just don't overall think it holds up. So whereas I enjoyed Visions much more. If you give me the choice which one I put on Visions. So.
Yeah, I just find it hard to get into that anime style when it's applied to things that aren't anime. Like DC has done this a few times, and each time it's just like it's a miss for me. Even if the story is compelling, I'm like, I don't know, I just can't get engaged. I don't like the visual style because it just seems like a mismatch. But they clearly keep making it, so I am in the distinct minority.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad series. It's just like it's
Right.
tough for me. There's a few DCs that I've tried to watch. I'm like, no. But you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's all subjective, and that's what's so great about this kind of stuff. All right, so Star Wars, and so let's go back. Let's go to the second round here. Star Wars: A New Hope at number 3, taking on for Matt Nost, The Phantom Menace, and for me, Kenobi. So, Matt, what do you
got? I mean, New Hope, no question.
Yeah,
I think moving on, I'm just going to go ahead and write that down.
Yeah, me too. It is absolutely the winner. Just it's so good. The OG is so good. It's still so good too when you watch it. All right, so then our next matchup is Andor against Clone Wars, the micro series. Now, let me say this this is a lot tighter matchup than you might have expected.
Yeah.
Because that micro series is so fucking good.
So good.
Yeah.
Like Tartakovsky crushed it.
Yeah.
Just flat out crushed it. And I just feel bad for it. I wish you were up against other things. You could easily be in the semis or making it beyond, but Andor just destroys it. And that's saying something considering how much we both enjoy Clone Wars.
Yeah. True. Very
so
true.
Andor makes it on for me.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. With all respect to the micro series, it was probably a 99-97 game. It was close. All right, Star Wars Rebels taking on Star Wars Resistance for Matt, and for me, the Bad Batch. What do you got, Matt?
So using the logic of the last one, I've seen more of Rebels than I have of Resistance, so I'm going to choose Rebels.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, fair point. I will take Rebels over the Bad Batch. I just think it's such a tighter show, such a better show. As soon as Ezra takes down that radar in the first season, the show becomes a completely different thing that is excellent. So I definitely give the nod to Rebels over the Bad Batch because I think the Bad Batch had some tougher episodes, shall we say, in their first season. Whereas Rebels, I did
growing pains. Growing pains. You got to figure out the characters, exactly how they interact, and you know.
That's why I'm curious to see how the second season goes. All right, so then it's our last matchup in the second round here. Attack of the Clones taking on the Mandalorian for Matt Nost, and Star Wars Visions for me taking on the Mandalorian. So what do you got, Matt?
The Mandalorian. I think it's been a more entertaining product overall.
Yeah.
Plus, we didn't know exactly what we were getting, and they came out with something that was, I think, across the spectrum was entertaining for people that have been Star Wars fans their whole lives to someone who's just being introduced to it now.
Yeah.
So the Mando makes it on for me.
Yeah, Mando makes it on for me too. I think Visions. Like I said, that second episode's is not that good, so it automatically means the series is uneven. Whereas the Mandalorian, I rarely find that with the Mandalorian. So, it moves on. All right, so then our quarterfinal matchup, I think for both of us, is Star Wars: A New Hope versus Andor. Matt Nost, take it away.
I mean, this is another tough one. This is genuinely a tough matchup.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Andor.
Wow.
It was so good. The pacing of it, the various it's one that I told Catherine, like, you're not going to like much of anything of Star Wars, but this is one that you can. I think you would like it because it's about so many different things.
Yeah.
All at once. Just the lust for greed and power, systemic, bigotry and subjugation of people that you feel are lesser than you, and those individuals rising up, socioeconomic differences. It keeps going and going and going. It's got so many different layers. Like when he gets sent, spoilers, I guess.
Yeah.
when he gets sent to prison, that could be the death knell for other series. Like it's taking a step back. And that
Yeah.
just opened up an entire different avenue of a struggle of a people that you don't normally side with.
Yeah.
And just, it's even more complex. So Andor, another tough matchup, makes it on for me.
Yeah, I take Andor as well. I'm out there on the wall on the. I know some people might get really, really upset, but Andor is so fantastic from top to bottom. It speaks my language. It is the Star Wars that I want to see, and I think Gilroy absolutely nailed it. And he nailed everything he was going for. All these other Disney Plus series, or a majority of them, if not all of them, other than Andor, falter or stumble either at the end or somewhere in the middle, or shove too much in there, and it doesn't quite hit the mark. I never felt that way for any episode of Andor, not just the entire series, any episode. And so for me, that speaks volumes about the quality of that show. And I put it up against House of Dragon, fucking Breaking Bad, or whatever, Better Call Saul, whatever it is now. I don't care. I would put that up there with any of those dramatic series.
In a universe that has space wizards, one of the best scenes is just Stellan Skarsgård on that catwalk, and the guy takes the elevator up, and he questions, like, what? I'm the one, the risk. I'm the one, and just the devastating speech he gives about, you have no fucking idea the amount that I have sacrificed. So guess what? You're going back in there. And it's like, oh my God, it just ends. And you're like, this fucking show, we're not even close to the end. There was 3 more episodes after that?
Yeah, there was.
It's like, oh, it just keeps doing it. And that's just a simple speech, but it's about the sacrifice that people make on either side, but on this one, on the resistance side. It's like, this fucking show.
The show was great too, because the characters are complex. And so you can hate him in one scene and like him in the next, and hate him again and like him in the next, and then love him. And so it was so great. Luthen was such a complex character, because that's how it would be to start a rebellion. There's no fucking noble, everybody doing the right thing. It's nasty, it's dirty, it's ugly. There's collateral damage. There are people who self-aggrandize themselves in the situation because they think they know the right way out of a situation. And you sometimes have to follow them because no one else is taking the lead. And so it's just so much about this that I think spoke so much truth that works for me 100%. So yeah, I echo everything you said, man. All right. So our next matchup here is, I think, Star Wars Rebels against The Mandalorian for both of us. So Matt knows another tough matchup here in the quarterfinals.
Not as much for me. Mandalorian takes this one. I don't have to put much thought into it. So
this is tough, man. This is tough because I really, really loved Rebels. We get Ahsoka versus Vader. We get a blind Freddie Prinze Jr.
That was a great scene,
right?
Yeah, and then that Sith temple that they end up fighting in, that was amazing.
When she actually shatters a piece of his helmet and his eye, and you hear his voice, it's like, oh my God. It was so cool. Dude, this is tough. Yeah, this is you know what? I'm going to take Rebels. I'm going to take Rebels in a bit of an upset for me, because I know there have been some filler episodes for The Mandalorian that don't 100% work for me, but no, don't be stupid. Okay, I'm going to take The Mandalorian. God damn it. Fine. Mandalorian. God damn it. It's such a good series. I can't deny it. So there we go.
And I like the trajectory that it's on.
Yes.
If season 2 had been like season 1, it's more episodic.
Right.
And it's almost a procedural problem is introduced in Act 1. It's resolved in Act 3. And then the ship flies away to a new place and be like, all right, it's Bruce Banner just walking on the highway.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but it's like, what's my through line here? And they raise the stakes a little bit in season 2.
Yeah.
And that teaser trailer, whatever, for season 3. Like, all right, I'm on board with this.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So here's our matchup: Mandalorian versus Andor. Matt knows.
Yeah, Andor. I can't find. I genuinely, if I'm searching my brain, I can't find fault with the Mandalorian when I watch that season. There's not a moment where I'm like, I would change this or whatever. It was all in service of this overall grand idea. and they stuck the landing so well. Whereas Mandalorian is like,
You mean Andor?
oh yeah, Andor. Sorry.
Yeah.
Whereas Mandalorian's like, you could literally cut this entire episode and it makes no difference to the overall arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can cut this episode. Season 1 had a few of those and be like, after we introduce the character, we don't need like that Ice Planet one where the baby, where
100% agree with you, man.
Grogu's eating those babies. When I'm like, you can cut this entire episode. We don't need it. It was still entertaining, but
yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I'd take Andor over the Mandalorian as well. I think it's just a tighter series, a much more complete series. All the characters get a chance to really breathe. There's no random character thrown in that there's no payoff, like the frog chick and the babies and the eggs and stuff in Mando. Yeah. It just, there's nothing of that. Everything gets paid off. Every character is a part of what happens. Even Bix, who isn't, who kind of gets sidelined once she goes into that room, gets a fantastic moment to when she has that back and forth with him, that she's like super afraid to walk out the door because of what they've done to her. That's that kind of just idea of being tortured to that point. It's just hard to see for a person you respected and saw was so strong. You see that they can break you. They can absolutely break you. And how many people have they broken before? So there's just so much about Andor that screams quality. Whereas Mandalorian, I think, is great, but it stumbles a couple of times. So Andor wins for its consistency of greatness. All right, Matt, what's our final matchup here?
Oof. It is the number 1 overall seed of The Empire Strikes Back versus the number 6 overall seed in Andor.
That's so perfect that Andor is the 6th seed. Plucky 6th seed coming in here, shocking the world, getting to the semifinal, or getting the final rather, to take on the big.
Yeah, and I'm glad it wasn't in the same bracket.
Yes,
like
agreed.
I would love to have seen a semifinal of Andor versus Rogue One, because that's brutal. I think I take Andor, but it's not by much. Yeah. I mean, Rogue One is, but anyway.
Yeah.
Empire versus Andor.
Oh, man.
There's a chance Andor, I'm about to reveal my answer, but there's a chance after season 2, Andor takes this.
Yeah.
There is a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for now, this is probably a 5 overtime game. And these young guys come back next year, Andor, in the 2nd season, and they just absolutely nail it and take the mantle away from Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. This could be a rematch next year. But for now, I have to take Empire just overall because of its effect and influence. It's consistently still good. Like even now, you could watch it now.
Yeah.
And enjoy the hell out of it.
After 45 years, it still holds up, or 43 years or whatever it is. It's still just as good to me.
It's the lion. It's the head lion of the pride. But this young lion in Andor is coming for the older lion. And as you said, if they nail it in the 2nd season, that young lion is taking over the pride.
It's got a damn good shot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Empire makes it on for both of us to the final, which I don't think anybody was surprised with. But there were still some excellent matchups in this.
There were. Yeah, I almost didn't want to do this bracket because I was like, I know where I'm going to end up. But like the matchups in the bottom half were great. In the first rounds on both our halves was great.
So, yeah, and I also like this play-in status.
Yeah, it kind of actually worked.
Well, there's not enough to fill out a full 32, so it's an interesting way to go, well, we can still do something beyond just the top 16.
Yeah.
And have more of a discussion overall. And it ended up being that we had some 4 splits on those play-in games. Yeah. So, James, kudos to you, sir. An excellent bracket idea, and I think we both thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, great job. I mean, the way you split it up, like you said, I think he picked the right ones to already be in the 2nd round. However the equation worked, it worked out in the benefit of the bracket for sure. So thanks, James. Great stuff. All right, Matt, I think that's it for Full Metal Bracket. Thanks to everyone who was listening or everyone who's watched us here on the YouTube channel. What else do we have to tell them, Matt?
If you'd like to participate, head over to patreon.com/the top 10 with the number 10 and hit us up over there. Otherwise, you can follow the show at Top 10 Show, all spelled out. And on Instagram and YouTube, it is /the top 10 podcast with the number 10. And you can follow me anywhere at Matt Nost.
And you can follow me at The Roca Says. Thank you all so much for joining us. As Matt said, we hope you had a safe and crime-free New Year.
Mhm.
And we'll talk to you next time with another episode of
Full
Metal
Bracket.